Hi, glad you could join me. I'm Annette Sherman. This is Community. Well, I have a special program for you today and a special guest for you today. I think you will enjoy meeting this special guest. Well, I'm not going to keep you in suspense. Let me introduce my very special guest. She is Police Chief Bernadette DiPino. And she is a beautiful police chief, but aside from being beautiful, she is extremely competent, and she is extremely well trained, and she's tough. But she's pleasant and sweet, and meet her. Bernadette, let's talk. The subject of today's program, although Bernadette is such an interesting subject, we'll start with her, learning a bit more about her. But the subject of today's program is scams and cons and that kind of thing that are so prevalent in our community. Now, in talking with the chief before we went on air, we feel there's something she does, professionally speaking, that the fact that we are an older community makes us candidates, more likely candidates for scams. But we're going to give you information, our chief is going to give you information that will help. And we have a number for you to call if you receive a phone call that you realize is a scam, and Chief DiPino will help us recognize it almost right away. Call this number. Don't just accept it and say, well, the heck with it. No, let's get them. Let's remove them from our environment so we don't have to be plagued with what they're doing. Bernadette, may I call you Bernadette?
Yes, please.
You're going to surprise everybody as you talk about what you've done in your family and your age, which I don't want to mention. It's not necessary, but you won't believe. I mean, she looks 35, 36, maybe 39. So just a little bit older than that. Okay. It was almost inevitable for you to go into police work. Tell us why.
Yes. Well, that was because my dad was a police officer. He retired as a major in the Baltimore Police Department. My grandfather was a police officer. He retired as a captain. My great-grandfather was a police officer, and then I became a police officer, and now my daughter is a police officer in the Baltimore County Police Department, where I actually started my career.
Well, I don't know if you watch Blue Bloods, but it's the same kind of situation where they almost expect to go into police work. They know it very well because they're the third or fourth generation, and it's the same thing with Bernadette. Except Bernadette is prettier than most of the police chiefs. All right, we'll leave that where it may be. Okay, so here you were, a growing up little girl with all these police officers in your family. Where was that?
This was in Baltimore. That's where I was born and raised. And I used to listen to the stories my dad would tell about the things that he did when he was a police officer. And he was a hero to me. He still is to this day. And the stories he told about, the people that he helped, really inspired me to want to get into law enforcement. And then my grandfather telling his stories also. It was about helping people and making a positive difference. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
But you received some excellent training and preparation to become chief. Talk about your training. Talk about what brought you to this level.
Yes, well, I started my career in Baltimore County, so I went through a police academy and just like every other officer, and learned the basics as a road cop. And then I moved to Ocean City, Maryland, where I spent 25 years there, and I worked my way through the ranks and became the chief of police there. My last 10 years was the chief. I earned my bachelor's degree from Salisbury University, and education's really important. I went to the FBI National Academy, the 204th session in 2001, and that really gave me a lot of administrative preparation for the job as the chief. And I've attended a number of trainings from the International Chiefs to the Florida Chiefs Association, the Maryland Chiefs Association, and so that and a lot of experience. I've had 15 years as a police chief.
I told you she was extremely well trained, and the training is very important. There's no question about it. but the on-the-job training and the fact, all the information and all the passing down from grandfather to father to daughter. Did your dad and grandfather, I mean, they say, well, you're a girl, maybe you shouldn't go into this.
You know, it's funny. My dad didn't want me to become a police officer, not because he didn't think that I could handle it, but he just didn't want to worry about me. And he really encouraged me to go become a lawyer. But I wanted to become a police officer, and he's been very supportive. And my grandfather, too. They both were very proud when I made chief of police.
I'm sure they are very proud of you.
And a lot of things in my career helped to guide me in this direction. I was on our SWAT team, and I was the commander of our SWAT team. I was on there for 10 years, the commander for 4. And those learning experiences, being in that position, really helped prepare me for a police chief. But a funny story is my grandfather told my dad when he became a police officer, he had to retire 1 rank higher than him. So my dad said, oh my gosh, I've got to be higher than a captain. But my dad became a major. So guess what my dad said to me? You have to be 1 rank higher than me. When you retire, I was like, I have to be chief of police somewhere to beat a major in the Baltimore Police Department. So when I was sworn in as chief in Ocean City, my dad and grandfather were there, and my dad pinned my badge on me, and my grandfather elbowed my dad and said, son, she beat us both. So they were very, very proud, very proud.
I think they should be.
And now I've told my
went
daughter.
on and you got married and you had a daughter, and guess where that daughter went for her occupation? You're right. Tell about your daughter.
Yes, she's a Baltimore County police officer, and of course, you know what I said to her. Now, you have to beat me. You have to be 1 rank higher than me before you retire. And she's like, how do I beat police chief? I said, well, maybe director of Homeland Security or FBI director. So she just laughed. But she's a very good police officer, and I'm very proud of her.
Okay. Now, you come from Baltimore originally. Did you, were you in the police department in Baltimore?
I was. I was a Baltimore County police officer for 3 years. And then my dad retired and moved to Ocean City with my mom. And my parents watched my daughter for me. So when they moved to the beach, and I have to tell you, it wasn't a hard move to go to the beach and spend my life there. So for 25 years, I was with the Ocean City Police Department. I started out as a narcotics officer and worked my way through the ranks. I was the first woman sergeant, then the first woman lieutenant. And then I became the chief of police, and I was there for 10 years. And then I retired, and I was fortunate to know that Sarasota was hiring for a police chief, and I applied for the position over 5 years ago, and I was blessed and very grateful to be selected. The city manager, Tom Barwin, selected me, and I have been very happy and loving my time here.
We're very happy to have you, not only because you are so enormously qualified and trained, and as I said earlier, not only the training that you get exteriorly, if there's such a word, from education groups and learning situations, but the training that inevitably happens from your father and your grandfather and your family, it just rubs off on you, and you can't do better than that.
That's true.
Coming to Sarasota, now, I would imagine any place that you went to would have a moment or more, I use the term a moment, of, oh, well, I don't know about that. And I think you've gone to whatever extreme necessary to prove what your talent and what your training is, that you're a darn good chief of police, and we're so happy to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Let's talk about your work day. What does that entail, generally speaking?
Generally, it's office, a lot of office work, a lot of administrative work. It's the helping to develop and implement policies and strategies for crime fighting. It's dealing with personnel issues, HR-related issues. And every once in a while, on a good day, I get to go out and meet the community and meet with students and maybe talk about different things like we're doing today. We're going to be talking about scams and cons, which is the most favorite part of my job, is interacting with citizens in the community. And I try to get out on the road to see what the officers are doing, and I miss that. I miss being a road cop. But I have 169 officers out there. They do a great job, and they're out patrolling. But you know, it does feel good driving around the community and seeing what's going on and see if that instinct is still there, and it is. And I still love it.
There's so much that happens nowadays that where the crowds gather and being sure about the safety of people at schools, in public meetings. We're living in dangerous times, my dear,
Yes.
and I needn't tell you because you can tell me, probably write a book on it at this point. But I think that people who remain apprised of our police department here, I have had reasons to bless them. Just so wonderful because they are where they're supposed to be and when they're needed, and just congratulations, because it's got to start at your level and then work its way down. Let's talk about this awful situation that we face with scams and cons and so forth. And Chief DiPino and I were talking before we went on the air, and I said, I have received the call when I first moved from my residence, which was last year. The first time I received a scam call, and at first I didn't know it was a scam. They are such good actors. And I come from an acting background, and I'm telling you, they're just wonderful actors. So you don't want to think you can figure what a scam is. What's your best way, if there is a best way, if I get a phone call to figure, hey, this is a scam?
Well, it's really important, and I want the public to know this. Do not be ashamed or embarrassed if you feel like you've been conned or scammed. It can happen to the best of us. It's happened to my family members. It's happened to me. It happens to everybody. And we want you to call the police as soon as you realize that there's a scam that took place.
Or if you think that it is.
Or if you think that a scam took place. So it's nothing to be ashamed about. These people are very well trained, and they know what they're doing, and they know what to say to convince you that they really are who they say they are. So the first thing is the IRS will never, ever call you about lack of payment. That never happens. So you can always discount anyone calling you from the IRS. My sister actually got a phone call like that, and she called me all panicked saying, they're sending police to come arrest me, and I paid my taxes. And I said, it's a scam. Please don't pay attention to it. Don't be nervous. So
very difficult to do.
It is.
When they're told don't pay attention to it because, my God, they're going to come and they're going to arrest me.
Exactly. And my sister's a nurse, and she's tough, and she lives in a law enforcement family, but that's why I'm reassuring people that it could happen to anybody. The other thing is be very careful about giving out your personal information over the telephone.
Yeah.
When someone calls, they will not ask you for your Social Security number. They will not ask you for your Medicaid
You're saying
number.
Don't give it to them.
Do not give them any of that information. And if someone calls soliciting money from you, or they tell you you've won something, it's that old adage, there is nothing that's free, okay? There's always a price that's paid for it. Do not pay things like that. If it's a charity calling you, tell them to send you information by the mail.
Don't respond to phone solicitation.
Do not respond, because you don't know who's on the other end. They could say that they're coming from the highest levels of government, and you can't verify who it is. So don't trust that. Another scam that we hear, especially with grandparents who may not see their grandkids a lot, they get calls from their grandchild who's on vacation in Mexico and was arrested, and you need to send bail money right away or they won't be out of jail. And a lot of grandparents fall victim to that.
Oh, sure. It's my grandson. I can't let him be put in jail.
Exactly. Do not pay it. Do not do anything about that. The first thing you should do is hang up and call your son or daughter or your grandchild to verify they're okay, because the kids are not going to be calling you from a jail. They would be calling you, and even if you hear a voice that sounds like your grandchild, it is a fake. They're really they know that you can't hear as well, and that they're in Mexico. It's a scam. Your grandchildren will not call you for bail money that way.
Okay, I'm going to put the number on the screen that Chief DiPino wants you to call. It's a very easy number, but let's put that on the screen, please. It's 941, of course, 316. And it's going to come up on your screen eventually, 1199. I'll repeat that. 941, we know we're in this area code, 316. 1199. And please, Damon, leave that on the screen while we're talking about it so that they can don't they have to get a pad or a pen to write it down. What will happen if I get a scam call and I know that it's a scam, or I think it's a scam, and I call this number, then what?
Well, what I want you to do is make sure you have, if you can, with your caller ID, write down the number that it's being called from.
Okay.
And then take the time to write down some information as to what they said to you. Anything that you can get. It was a male voice. They said my grandchild was in Mexico. Any vital information. Then call the non-emergency number. That's the dispatcher from the county sheriff's office. And then you ask for an officer to either be dispatched to you or to talk to a police officer. And we'll gather the information, and we'll be able to reassure you that it's a scam, that we've had a number of complaints about it. We'll try to track down who did it. But it's really challenging because they're calling from various locations. It could be all over the world that they're calling from a different number than the number they're calling on, because there's ways to spoof a number so that you don't know where they're really calling from. The biggest thing I want people to know is that it is a scam, it is a con, and they're going to sound very convincing, but never, ever, ever give your money, a credit card, your bank account, any type of information,
Social Security.
or your Social Security, or any of your Medicare or Medicaid card information. Don't give any of that over the telephone to other people, because they will steal your money. They'll empty your bank account. They'll steal your identity. And I have to tell you that if you for some reason do, because it sounds so legitimate, and you realize that you are being taken, call us. Don't be ashamed about it. It has happened to all of us. I actually recently had someone call and say that they found mold in my air vents and wanted to charge $3,500 to clean it. So I'm worried, okay, my parents are older, there's mold in my place. Always get a second opinion. Even the photographs they showed looked legitimate, so they're very, very good at what they do at conning people.
Very good at what
They're
they
very
do.
good. And don't ever take cold calls from people. If somebody calls and says, hey, I want to come and do an inspection on your house, or if they arrive on your doorstep, especially after Hurricane Irma, a number of people, there's a lot of people that are out there that are going to try to take advantage of people, and they go to your door and say, hey, I'm here, I'm from this legitimate company. They even have a little patch on that seems legit. Do not let them in their house. What they're doing is they're trying to come into your house to case your house. And you know that word, case.
Yeah.
They're trying to look, do you have a big screen TV? Do you have any valuables, money, jewelry? They may not do anything, but they'll pass the information along to somebody else that can come and burglarize you at another time. So don't let people in your houses either.
Good advice. The simplistic one-liner after the detailed advice, which is important because we have the chief with us for that purpose, is that they are so excellent. Now, I am a trained actress and taught acting for years. They are wonderful.
They are.
And I would give them the highest mark in acting
I would
because
too.
they are, yeah.
I would too. I totally agree. And there's other scams out there. We've talked a little bit about the gas pumps. It's important to protect your credit card numbers. There's sleeves now that you can purchase or get. Some companies give them for free, where you can actually put your credit card in, because people have devices that can go right by your purse or right by your wallet and pick up your credit card. Be very careful when you're in a store. People might have a camera. You know, you hold your credit card up to insert it. They're going to steal your numbers off of your credit card and just use that to make purchases online. And be careful and check every one of your credit card bills. I go line by line by line to make sure it's a verified purchase. And I recently had to cancel one of my credit cards because someone had stolen my numbers and had made 2 purchases from San Francisco, which I wasn't, of course, there.
The credit card company will make it good if you call it to their attention.
They do. They do. But what this scam did was really good, because they made 2 charges, then they made another charge, and then they refunded it. So it didn't alert the credit card company to
your credit card?
To my credit card. So I caught it, and I called them and reported it to them. They canceled it. They reimbursed me for the amount of money. So it's really important to pay attention. And when you go to use your credit card at the gas machine, I highly recommend that on those slots, try pulling that slot. I recommend pulling close to the front of the store where the store clerk can actually see you, because the people that put those skimmers in usually are off in corners or dark areas of the parking lot where the clerk can't see you. So if you use one of the front or the ones that are open to the clerks, they usually don't see them. Another thing is our police department is going to be working on different ways to be able to overcome those skimmers.
Bernadette, what exactly is a skimmer?
It is a device that is put into where you traditionally would insert your credit card into the gas pump.
Yes.
They insert a device there that actually will read your credit card and get your information, and they'll be able to use that to purchase things in other locations. They're stealing basically your credit card and your identity when they do that.
I'm glad you could take the time to come with us because you're a wealth of information. I'm going to have Chief DiPino on again. There's going to be some wonderful things that are being done by the police department. We don't have another open date for this season, but I'm going to invite her publicly right now to please come on again for the beginning of the next season, and we'll talk about all the things that are in place that you're excited about, that you're pleased about, that are going to deter some of these scams. We've got some pictures, and it'd be fun to go through them. So if you will watch the monitor, Bernadette,
Sure.
and the pictures will come up and tell us what we're seeing. Okay, first picture. It takes a moment. There we go. Oh,
That's a
she
stock.
looks familiar.
That's a stock photo of me. We take photos of all of our police officers, so in case they win an award or get recognition, we have a photo that we can share with the newspaper.
Okay, next picture, please.
This is a picture of me 5 years ago being sworn in by our city
You haven't
manager,
changed.
Tom Barwin, and that's my daughter there who was there. My parents were there and my nephew to see me sworn in.
Okay.
That's the city manager shaking my hand, congratulating me after I was sworn in. This is one I'm really proud of. That's my daughter actually pinning my badge on. We have a family tradition. My dad has pinned my badge
Must
on
be
me.
so proud of you that
Oh,
they
yes.
just can't see.
Yes. This is me out talking to our police officers as they're engaged in different activities in the community. This is me standing with our honor guard. We go down Main Street on many parades. Now, I'm from Baltimore, so I love the Orioles, and the Oriole bird is here. You know, we have the spring training, so that's me with the Oriole bird. We often get dignitaries here. This is a former NYPD commissioner, and we were talking over different things about crime fighting and strategies and what was going on in Sarasota. It was really complimentary about our strategies and what we're doing here. We often get dignitaries. We had a big election a little over a year ago, and we had many different individuals come into town. Ben Carson was in town then. He's actually from Baltimore. He was a famous surgeon there in Johns Hopkins, so it was a nice opportunity to be there and make sure he was safe while he was in town. This is me with the sheriff and my former deputy chief at one of the annual events. These are the skimmers. These are things to be looking for on the gas pumps. That's what they insert in the gas pump, and that's why it's important. Pull on the gas pump a little bit to feel if it's in there secure, and always try to be right in front of the store window so they can see you, because most of the bad guys aren't going to put skimmers on right in front of the store.
Okay, I'm going to put that phone number on the screen again. Those of you who did not make note of it, maybe you tuned in late, or maybe you didn't have a pencil handy. But if you do have a pencil handy or a pen, something to write with, okay, fine, it's on the screen. 941, well, you know that's the area code, 316-1199. And you will reach the police department, and they will take the information that you have to give them. What I did at the time that I got a scam call is when I hung up, I pressed caller ID, and a number came up. I don't know if it was a real number or not a real number, but if you can do that and give that to the people you speak to at the police department, let them check it. But as Chief DiPino said, they change their location frequently. So they're stupid, they're not. And they're clever, and they're sneaky, and they're terribly dishonest, and don't let yourself be taken. So just realize if they are asking for money, even $100, even $25, it's a scam. And call the number that I gave you, it's on the screen, and let them know so that we can eliminate one of the scams. They come up with new ideas.
Yes, they do.
And very clever. I mean, someone ought to write a book and of all these scams. Maybe there is such a book, I don't know, of the kind of things. Well, we talked about several of them, the grandparent scam and the all sorts of, you've won something, but you've won thousands of
Yeah,
millions.
and if you win something, you never have to put money up front. They say, oh, we found a check, but we want you to give us $500. It belongs to you, and this is just good faith money. No such thing. Trust your gut, trust your instinct. People in our community often, that feeling that you get in your stomach or the hair on the back of your neck stands up. If you get that feeling, trust it. Don't believe it. You've got to trust your instinct. If it's too good, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true.
Last two questions. What is the hardest part of your job, or the most difficult? And what is the best part of your job?
Let's see. The hardest part of my job is when I feel like that there are things that I could do to help people, and we are unfortunately not able to do that. Seeing a child hurt, seeing an older person hurt and injured, those are very difficult things. Dealing with police officers, because our officers are our family, and our officers are human beings, and they often have things that happen in their family. A member of their family dies, or they're sick or in the hospital. Comforting them. It's very personal to me because I care about them just as much as I care about my daughter. They're my family, and I want to take care of them and keep them safe. The best part of my job is interacting with the community. We have a wonderful community that's supportive of law enforcement. The kids that are in the community, seeing people that want to become police officers, that's inspiring. It's purposeful. It makes me feel good about the job. It's like making a positive difference in somebody's life every day. And once in a while as an officer, someone will come up to you and thank you for something you did, and it makes it all the worth the while because we don't expect that. We don't look for it, but when somebody does say that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I had the people that you call the 911, as you call, and the fire people, fire engine people. They're not they're firemen.
Fire off, right.
And we've got about a minute, so I don't have the time. But they're just wonderful people, and they do their job marvelously, and I try to compensate them. They said, oh, no, we can't take that.
Right.
I just said, bless you.
Yeah, it means a lot to us. Police officers see the worst of the worst and the best of the best. We see some of the worst things that happen in our world, the abuse, the death, the injuries, but then we see some of the best things in the world, people that are inspiring, and that's what makes this job so useful, and I love it.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Long may you wave. We're proud of you being a woman, and we're proud of you being our chief. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
See you next time.
The time really flew. We bid you adieu from Community. If you want to know why we love it here, so check out Community. Well, it's a who's who, a what's, when, and where show.